What is going on, New York Giant fans? Like seriously, like what is going on? Like what am I watching week to week? And I know I said I was going to go live after I left Bad Dog Stream. I'm going to eat dinner actually first at around 6, and then I'll go live around 7, 7:15, 7:30. Talk about the game with you guys for about 2 hours. Have a nice victory stream. Really excited to do it, but this has become common practice. Another week, another victory. New York Giants are now 6-1. They've now won 4 straight since the Dallas Cowboys loss, and it's a reoccurring theme. Every game comes down to the final minutes, and every game, for the most part, the New York Giants are finding ways to pull it out. And today was not pretty. There was a lot to talk about from a negative standpoint in this game. There are things that we need to improve upon. There were players in this game, crucial players, that went down with injuries. And we'll find out more details about Evan Neal, about Daniel Bellinger, and I think there was another big injury as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. And we'll find out more details about that tomorrow. Okay? We'll hear about it. And the New York Giants, if they are going to miss a sustained period of time, have to find ways to overcome it. And thus far this year, that has been the theme of this New York Giants football team. Resilient. Finding ways to overcome adversity. Because that's what they've done week in and week out. They've overcame adversity. And this was no different. Starting right tackle goes down. Let's find a way to overcome it. Wide receivers drop about 5 or 6 balls. Daniel Jones finds a way to overcome it. Saquon Barkley steps out of bounds 3 times on the final drive. Giants defense finds a way to overcome it. Barely. But they did. At the 1-yard line. Now, granted, there was a lot of questionable calls in this game. And had we lost, and I don't think I've ever had a rant about officials in a video. I know for a fact I've never blamed a game on officials in a video. I would have been very close. Had the New York Giants lost this game to having a full-on rampage against the officials and some of the calls that they made in this game. But we won, so it doesn't matter. We forget about it at week's end. But there was definitely a lot of questionable calls from within this game that, the Dexter Lawrence late hit. I don't know. I think he got called for 2. The first one certainly wasn't a penalty, at least in my opinion. And Daniel Jones got hit while sliding down. They didn't call a flag there. Luckily, they did call it when he threw the interception, which was Daniel Jones' one really bad decision in this game. Luckily, it got negated. But overall, Jones once again played his heart out, played his butt off. And Daniel Jones coming back in 2023. Daniel Jones coming back in 2023. This team is 6-1. Daniel Jones now has 5 game-winning drives through 7 weeks. The NFL record for a season is 8. This is magical. And what you saw in this game from Jones in terms of growth, his pre-snap reads, his audibles at the line of scrimmage, it was every play. He was calling out what the defense was going to do. He adjusted the line. He was great. Continues not to turn over the football, continues to have long, sustaining drives. He had one drive where he was basically the running back the entire drive. I think it was on the go-ahead touchdown drive. Was basically the running back the entire drive. Didn't do a whole lot of throwing because the Jaguars adjusted their defense. I love that the Giants finally got off to a good start this week, at least offensively. Defensively, we're going to talk about it. We'll jump into all the stats in this game. But the Giants, I think it was the first time all year where they had a touchdown on their opening drive. Might have been the second time, but I think it was the first. They had a touchdown on their opening drive all year. And I thought it was important in this game to set the tone. Brian Dable talked about that, said that they had to come out with a better game plan from the start. The Giants actually received the ball. I'm not sure if they accepted it or Jacksonville deferred. Either way, we started with the ball. We were able to score a touchdown on our opening drive. And that was great to set the tone. I thought they needed to get to a point where they had to put Trevor Lawrence in a situation where he had to throw the football. Now, of course, the defense didn't hold up their end of the bargain, but you can't blame the offense for that. Jacksonville came out with the game plan of stop Saquon Barkley at all costs. Stop Saquon Barkley. And and I'm not taking anything away from Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley played his ass off outside of the 3 stepping out of bounds, which we'll get to. But Saquon Barkley stuck with it, played his butt off, had a fantastic last 3 quarters, second half in particular, had a number of very big runs, and continues to be the MVP of this team thus far throughout the season. But this was a game where Daniel Jones actually set up Saquon Barkley. Because what the Jacksonville Jaguars did, they said, we're going to put 8 in the box. We're going to force Daniel Jones to make adjustments at the line of scrimmage. We're going to force Daniel Jones to throw the football to beat us. And that's exactly what he did. He set the tone early on in that first drive, and he forced Jacksonville, as that game went along defensively, to readjust what they were doing, to change their game plan, because they saw they weren't going to be able to stop Daniel Jones putting 7-8 in the box, forcing them to try to throw the football. When they did that, Daniel Jones beat them. Then when they changed things up, Daniel Jones started breaking out as a runner. Saquon Barkley started breaking out as a runner. And the New York Giants continue to do what they've done all year. It is no secret at this point what this team is, okay? They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they know their identity. And every week, this team is going to try to possess the football a lot longer than their opponent. And this week, they did it more, I think, than any other week this season. We're going to get into the exact numbers, but I think it was over 8 minutes. We had the ball longer than our opponent. And it paid off yet again with time of possession as the game wore along. We had long sustaining drives. We were great on third down. We had 4 drives today that were 10 plays or longer. So that's what this team is. They grind out the clock. They keep the defense fresh, and the defense looked better in the second half. And they find ways to get the W's. In terms of Brian Daboll, his one questionable decision for me in this game, and I think he was going to go for it, by the way, on the 4th and 2, and I would have in that spot, I think when we had it on the 40, but then on the Jaguars 40, but then Peterson obviously had the challenge, which was a good challenge by him, and it backed us up to a 4th and 4 and forced us to punt. The one questionable decision he had in this game, and I'm not going to kill him for it, it was kind of like a 50-50, but when we were down by 4 points, I personally would have preferred them to kick a field goal there, because if you give up a touchdown on the next drive, it's still a one-possession game, and at that point in time, me as a fan watching the game, I had very little faith that our defense was going to be able to stop that Jacksonville Jaguars offense. Had I had more faith in the defense at that point in the game, I would have been like, yeah, let's be aggressive. Let's go for it. Let's try to take the lead. When they didn't get it, they put a lot of pressure on the defense to come up with a stop, something they had not done all game, and they were able to do that. They got a 3 and out, and the Giants were able to get good field position, and then we were able to go down the field and score a touchdown and take the lead in this football game. So that was the one decision in today's game, and I try to be nitpicky. I try to point out things that I think they can improve upon, where I personally did not agree with Brian Daboll's decision. Overall, you cannot complain with Brian Daboll at all. At all. This coaching has been masterful, and you're seeing different players because of it. Dexter Lawrence continues to get pressure up the middle, continues to be a force up the middle. Kayvon Thibodeau was getting pressure all game. He must have been held 5, 6, 7 times, and the referees didn't blow the whistle. But he got constant pressure off the outside. Dexter Lawrence continues to be a force, and Fabian Moreau might be the quarterback 1 on this team right now, the way he's playing. He's playing out of his mind. We got this guy off the street. He had 2 big pass breakups on the final drive, which chewed up clock for Trevor Lawrence, and he had the game-saving tackle, or at least was the guy that initiated the initial contact to keep him out of the end zone. So Fabian Moreau, another a great individual performance, and I think he's a guy that needs to get more and more accolades from Giants fans. I think you guys need to give him a ton of credit, and you guys are, and he deserves it. He's been phenomenal, but the Giants just stepped up yet again and found a way to win a game. At the end, Saquon Barkley, what's so ironic is Saquon Barkley last week, I praised him, and Giants fans praised him for his awareness to fall down at the 1-yard line so they could kneel out the clock, rather than score a touchdown and go up by 11 and, risk the 1% chance that they could score a quick touchdown, recover an onside kick, and win the football game or tie the football game and go in overtime. He thought about the team ahead of himself. And I'm not saying at all that he thought about himself ahead of the team in this game, but he has to have better situational awareness. And hopefully he uses this as a lesson to know to go down. You guys know I love Saquon Barkley. I ride with Saquon Barkley till the end, but I got to call him out when he screws up. Today, it shouldn't have even been a last drive. The defense shouldn't have had to hold up again. Saquon Barkley's got to do a better job. Can't go out of bounds 3 times on the last drive, especially on the third one. The third one, just fall down on the ground. The yards don't matter at that point. The 40 seconds is what matters. Take it down to 25 seconds, like a no-kick the field goal, go up by 6, and the game is pretty much over. Instead, we had to have a stand at the 17-yard line at the end of the game because we left time on the clock, because Saquon essentially gave them 3 free timeouts. That cannot happen going forward. I have faith that it won't. Saquon's a smart guy. And, he probably just was trying to make a play. But he's got to be better. He's got to have better situational awareness than that going forward. And I think he will. But that needs to be pointed out because that nearly costed us the football game. 3 feet away from costing us the football game because the defense should have never been out there to begin with. We should have been able to close out that game had he not stepped out of bounds. But Regardless, the team picked it up for Saquon, and Saquon had a lot to do with this win. Outside of that, he had another 100-yard performance against a team coming into this game was surrendering only 3.9 yards a carry, the third best run defense in the National Football League. The Giants had their way. And we're going to jump into the stats, but the Giants had their way. But they did so by setting it up with the pass because they started off throwing the football a lot. I think the first, I want to say like 6 or 7 plays, 6 of them were passes because they saw what was being presented to them. But overall, Saquon Barkley kept going. I think he only had like 3 rushing yards, like maybe like 5 or 6 minutes before halftime. He finished with 110. Daniel Jones had 107. The Giants had 2 100-yard rushers. They had 39 carries for 236 yards, 6.1 yards a carry. But Daniel Jones with his arm in the first half is what kept us in the football game. And then he used his legs, and then they used Saquon Barkley. Jones was 19 of 30, 202 yards, a touchdown. And the stats may not be electric, but he had about 170 yards at halftime throwing the football. And then the Giants went to a strong, heavy run approach when Jacksonville made their adjustments, which is what good football teams do. And the Giants are a damn good football team. We're 6-1. Overall, from the offense, just a fantastic game plan. Kafka, great job. What needs to be talked about, we need wide receivers. And at 6-1, can we get Daniel Jones some help? I don't care if it's Denzel Mims. Get him somebody. Get him a professional receiver. I think we had like 6 drops. Daniel Jones had 11 incompletions. I think 6 of them were drops. Get this guy some help because he's doing everything in his power to help us win football games right now. Marcus Johnson had 3 targets. He had 0 catches. I think 2 of those were drops. Richie James had a key drop, if I remember correctly. There was a couple of others. I think Gary Slayton had a drop. There were so many drops in this game. Wan'Dale Robinson in the first half was used a lot. He had 50 yards in the first half, had 2 really good catches. Excited to see what they continue to do with him in the offense. He had a couple of good motion plays. They definitely have a defined role for him, and I think he's only going to get better throughout the course of the season. They tried to use Barkley a bit in the passing game in the second half. He had 4 catches, 25 yards. But overall, the offense did the job, okay? They did the job. They recovered a fumble. That was a huge, crucial play in this game as well. Should have made note of that. That was a bit of luck. Right. I mean, they were about to score a touchdown, and Travis Etienne fumbled it on the 1-yard line that was punched out by Xavier McKinney, and Julian Love was able to come up with it. But hey, I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes. And the New York Giants were able to be opportunistic, come up with a turnover, and in the end, that's probably the biggest deciding factor of this game was the turnover battle. Trevor Lawrence did a good job in terms of not turning the ball over. He was under constant pressure. He did miss a couple of throws in the back end of the end zone, but he ended up only being 50%, 310 yards, didn't score a touchdown. And we were +1 in the turnover battle. But where we really stood out and where we continue to win these football games is the time of possession. Look at this. 34 minutes and 10 seconds to 25 minutes and 50 seconds. 8 minutes and 20 seconds more, we held the football. In the end, that's what wins you the football game. That keeps Trevor Lawrence off the field. That keeps Travis Etienne off the field. We almost outgained them. We're not outgaining our opponents, but we're possessing the ball for a lot longer. And that's why in the end we have the defense fresh. That's why we're closing out these football games. We're finding ways to win. Third down efficiency. Giants do the job again, at least from an offensive standpoint. Defense, not the best. They were 6 of 13, but offensively, again, 50%. We've now been 50% or higher 3 weeks in a row on third down against Jacksonville, the Ravens, and the Packers. We were 60% against the Packers. We were 50% against the Ravens. We were 50% against Jacksonville. 6 of 12. That is a much higher percentage than it was last year. Last year, we were probably damn near the bottom of the league. And once again, we found a way to come up with big conversions on third down. And a lot of that goes to Daniel Jones. A lot of it goes to Daniel Jones's legs, the situational awareness. And what really stood out to me, statistics aside, with Daniel Jones, it's his pocket awareness. His pocket awareness is getting better every week. His situational awareness, knowing when to take off. Even the sack he took late in the game, Bad Dog brought it up. It would have been an 8-9-yard loss, may have been a stripped sack years past. He sensed the blindside pressure. He stepped up in the pocket. Instead of taking an 8 or 9-yard loss, he took a 1-yard loss. And it was now a second and manageable rather than a second and a mile. So just little things like that. His pocket awareness, his situational awareness, knowing when to take off with the football. He had at least 3, if not 4 first downs with his legs yet again. That continues to be a statistical category where he's doing great. And right now, if you look at Daniel Jones' rushing yards, this guy's on pace to run probably for over 800 yards on the ground. And he's finding ways to get it done. And that's the moral of the story. And I think about what this offense could look like if we actually get this guy a true number one weapon on the outside, and what Saquon Barkley could look like if we get a true number one weapon on the outside. The offensive line did the job. I mean, Daniel Jones, I don't have the stats in front. Well, I do have the stats in front of me. Let me pull it up again real quick. I don't think Jones was sacked more than maybe once or twice. Didn't feel that way. Was sacked once for 2 yards. So the offensive line did the job, even with Evan Neal going down with the injury. And they found ways to create holes in the ground game once Jacksonville let up a little bit. Once they said, okay, we now honor Daniel Jones, we honor the passing game, then they found ways to create holes. Now, Barkley definitely had a couple of runs that were highlight runs in this game that was all Saquon. I think he had like 2 or 3 runs where he looked like he was in the ice capades, like he was skating side to side. He broke one huge run for about 15 yards in that fashion. So he continues to just be a monster as he had over 100 yards, and I think he's going to have over 2,000 scrimmage yards this year. But again, the offensive line continues to improve or at least maintain what they've been doing week over week the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been a huge upgrade. Didn't really call Josh Allen's name too much, right? Didn't really call any of those guys' names too much. So, again, did a great job. There was a lot of throws where Daniel Jones had enough time. He was able to step up in the pocket, scan the field, look down the field, and make some plays. And that's all you could ask for. Giants continue to get the job done. The defense has a lot to work on. I'm not even going to lie. In this game, the defense was bad. Overall, the defense was bad. They had one huge 3 and out. I will give them credit for that. And they did get the job done on the last drive, barely. But the defense was certainly bad in this game. That needs to be talked about. Travis Etienne had his way with us. And that was something I really worried about going into this game, was the run defense. Because, one, that's been a weakness of ours all year. And 2, it's been a big strength of Jacksonville. And a lot of people have talked about the pre-snap motion that they bring to the table and how it has sprung them for big runs. But what happened was, because the Giants maintained the time of possession, because the Giants were able to get out to a little bit of a lead, Jacksonville didn't run the ball nearly enough. They threw the ball 44 times. They only ran it 21 times. They had 142 yards on the ground, but they only ran the ball 21 times, 6.8 yards a carry. Etienne was killing us. Seemed like he was getting at least 5 yards every play, and he had the 49-yard run, which I was worried about coming into the game because Jacksonville had three running plays this year, which were for over 50 yards. That might as well have been 50 yards. So I was worried about that as well. But they had some big plays on the ground. They had a lot of good pre-snap motion. But overall, the Giants found a way to maintain, and the Giants found a way to get a win. Another big stop for the defense that needs to be pointed out, the 4th and inches. The 4th and inches is probably as big of a play as anything in this game. Probably the biggest play of the game. The 4th and inches where they had Trevor Lawrence do the QB sneak. Lawrence needs to get better with that. He went up way too high. He's got to know how to get down low, but the Giants got to stuff when they needed it. So was the defense great? No. This is probably our worst defensive performance of the year overall as a team, if I had to guess. But overall, when they needed to, they got the job done. They held relatively strong in the red zone. They got lucky with the one fumble by Travis Etienne, in which we were able to pick it up in the end zone. Not taking anything away from McKinney. It was a good play, but they were driving on us on that drive. But yeah, hey, listen, I said it at the beginning of the year. This is what good teams do. You know, everybody said at the beginning of the year, oh, well, the defense is carrying us. The offense stinks. And I said the offense is going to get progressively better. And there's going to be games this year where the defense needs help from the offense. And that's what good teams do. You're not always going to be perfect on both sides of the ball, but you hope when one side is really struggling, the other side picks them up. And today, that's exactly what happened. The offense picked up the defense when they needed to. They kept the defense in the game, and the defense rewarded them with coming up with some key stops when they needed it most. We got a good football team, guys. Accept it. For all the doubters out there, accept it. We got a great head coach. We got a quarterback that's getting better and better every week. We got a good football team. And next week, we got to travel to Seattle. Geno Smith revenge game, but soak it in. 6-1. Victory Monday is going to feel great. Looking forward to doing the stream at about 7:15. I'll see you guys there then. You may not get the notification because it's 2 consecutive uploads, so be sure to check it out at about 7:15. I'll be live. But wanted to get a post-game video up for you guys, expressing my immediate thoughts after the game, talking about the game, and I am damn excited to be where we're at right now. It's the shades. It's the shades. We haven't lost since we put on the shades. No, but I just had so much fun, guys. Thank you guys for all the support you guys always show in both Bad Dogs channel, my channel, whenever we do the live streams. Can't say thank you enough. And I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we are. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.